Hi, it's Mr. Price, trying to get you started thinking about all living things in the world. And we're going to do that on a sheet of paper. Now, you don't need to take any notes on this unless you want to, because you'll always have this video to look at. But we can do a little work thinking about three ideas that are going to help us figure out how we organize all living things on the planet. So it turns out everything's going to come up or be really about cells. And particularly, we can sort of think about those cells in three ways. We can think about the cell's basic fundamental structure. So it turns out cells can either have a nucleus, or there are some cells that don't have a nucleus. So that's the basic categories of life. They can either have cells with a nucleus or cells without a nucleus. Cells with a nucleus, we're going to come to learn, are called eukaryotes, or sometimes they're called eukaryotic cells. Cells without a nucleus are called prokaryotes. Okay? So one way I remember this is, I think euc means nuke, meaning nucleus. Pro means no nucleus. Okay? You're going to see these words used a fair amount. So cells one category. Now the other category is easier. It's just size. Now you can either be an organism that's made up of many cells. Okay? If you wanted to, you could imagine that a person is made up of many cells. Right? It's kind of a lame drawing. But this means, we sometimes call this multicellular. Okay? Or you can literally be a cell, an organism that will spend its whole life as a single cell. And that's called unicellular. Uni, you might know, means one, like a unicycle. And multi, I think you know, means many. Okay? That's how you remember that. Now, the last thing is just a word that we've used before. It's basically nutrition. Okay? And that's just basically how do they get their food. So we've learned before that there are some things that are called consumers, and there are some things called producers. We know producers, most of them, can do photosynthesis. All right, that's our review. Now, when they're talking about life on the planet, though, they often use these new words, which you'll see. And basically, we know producers can make their own food. So there's a fancy word they use called auto, meaning self, like automobile, self-mobilizing yourself. But this case, it's autotroph, which means troph means to eat, so it basically eats itself, or it makes its food itself. Consumers, which we know have to catch their own food, they are other eaters. So we use the word hetero, which means other, and troph, which basically has something to do with nutrition. So those are the words you're going to come across in these next videos, right? Eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Euc, nuke, pro, no. Multicellular creatures that are big, right? You can usually see them. And these guys that are single cells, unicellular, are small. And then creatures can either be consumers, meaning they eat other things, or we sometimes call them heterotrophs, or they can be producers, which do photosynthesis in most cases, or they do autotrophs. We know some students have done work on the other kind of synthesis, the chemosynthesis, but the basic idea is they can make their own food somehow, whereas consumers have to go hunt for it. So hopefully that's going to be helpful to you as you look at the next couple videos.